As you can see this morning, we are in a different setting, not outside, but inside. That's because there's some technical difficulties and malfunctioning going on with the chiller that keeps the cold plunge cold. So until that gets fixed for the time being, we will be inside. Got about 30 pounds of ice and cold faucet water. So it's not as cold as what the cold plunge does get, but I'm still a little bit uncomfortable, so I'm still a chilly wolf for the time being. All right. Alrighty. Trending Tuesday, Chilly Wolf Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Wolf. Now, I just would like to get this out of the way. This will be the last ever episode that is filmed. I'm kidding. It's April Fool's. Make sure that you pass that message along. Verse of the day. Once again, John chapter 15, verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Guys, we were made to stay connected to Christ like a branch to a vine. But in the busyness of life, it's easy for us to forget his words, for everything to just kind of drown it out. So that's why it's important to stay in his word. Last week, biotech company 23&Me, which offers genetic heritage based on a saliva sample, filed for bankruptcy and is seeking a sale. Concerns have been raised about whether customers' personal data, aka your genetic information, will be sold off as part of the sale. Experts have urged 23&Me users to delete their information due to the uncertainty of the entity that buys the company. A small plane traveling from Iowa to Minnesota crashed into a house in Minneapolis on Saturday afternoon, unfortunately killing everyone on board. The house that the plane crashed into went ablaze, but fortunately no one in the house was harmed. Wednesday, the White House announced a 25% tariffs on imported passenger vehicles, pickup trucks, and car parts. Economists expect car prices to raise $4,000 to $10,000, as many American-made vehicles have foreign parts or are partially assembled in Mexico or Canada. President Trump says the tariffs will make $100 billion a year and incentivize companies to do more car building in the United States, which equals more jobs created. Sounds good, right? However, on the other hand, critics say higher prices decrease demand, hurting car makers and forcing layoffs. Auto stocks went in reverse, with General Motors being hit the hardest. And that's because 30% of vehicles that GM sold in the first 3 quarters of 2024 were assembled in Mexico or Canada. A Christian response to this would be, regardless of whether the economy is struggling or thriving, we should be generous with our time, talents, and resources. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 16 states, do not neglect to do what is good and to share, for God is pleased with such sacrifices. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Remember April 1st, April Fool's, so be sure to pass that along. God bless.